Greetings and salutations. I hope everyone is doing well and welcome to today's upload. Guys, once again, it is Saturday. And Saturday on this channel means only one thing: Saturday Nightmares, live from upstate New York. That is our live stream. It starts at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a lot of fun sharing experiences, theories. The community chat is second to none. It really is. Friendships are forged and a whole lot of just really supportive people in that community. And what makes that live stream so special is all of you. I hope to see you at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before we jump into this upload, though, a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Ned Only. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and I really appreciate them. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? I've been wanting to share this for a while, but because of neurodivergence, I have issues with articulating things that are not logical. I fail at emotional and illogical, so please be kind while I try my best. October, my boyfriend took me to a lookout point in the Sierra Mountains on the northern California side. We travel a lot of places. Shasta and this lookout point is our favorite places to get away from noise, air, people pollution. A lot of tourists stop through for sunsets and hiking. Chinese college student NASA hopefuls often fly their drones here. No one but my fiance and I ever stay past sunset. We love being there at night when you can smell the sweet, earthy breeze. He will bust out our camping grill and start chefing while we drink and let the dogs roam about. We have had many paranormal experiences at this location. Small things mostly. Nothing like this day, however. I always seen Bigfoot, giants, Loch Ness, and other cryptid myths as being stupid. I wholeheartedly believed in aliens, as I had a lot of childhood encounters, as had my father. Early in October of 2022, I wanted to see the full moon. Didn't expect to be proposed to during the sunset. Didn't expect for us to be the only visitors there that day either. That was a tad unusual. I got out of the car to help signal my fiancé to park when I impatiently looked toward the path that leads to a lookout point. I wanted to see the sunset, and we made it a little later than I had liked. My fiancé was getting frustrated, assuming that I had squirrel moment, and got distracted. I was really trying to make sense of just what the hell I was seeing. There are two paths when you drive in. There is a small circular parking lot with two outhouses that are at the foot of the main path that branches into two paths. The right path is a steep incline that leads high to a lookout point that is concreted with a stone ledge so that you will not drop 20 feet into a cluster of stones. The left path follows a decline down the mountain where there are a couple of picnic tables that are surrounded by trees and many large stones to climb down even further. You can see for miles. I saw what looked like an abnormally huge person standing in front of the lookout point. Their back was to me, and two things struck me. The red, gold, orange hair. He had a massive head of flame-colored hair. The second thing was where he was standing, outside the stone ledge of the lookout point, which wasn't very possible for me. Its shoulders, the back of his head well above the 15-foot mark, so I couldn't understand what I was seeing. I was seriously looking at a red-haired giant just casually watching the sunset. My fiancé was yelling to me, so I remember thinking maybe it's a tree and the sunset is hitting the autumn leaves just right to make it dramatic. We grab our things and start trekking toward the lookout point. I was telling him what had distracted me. But as we started the path, I noticed the lack of a tree or the giant. You would think a giant walking around would produce sound. I felt silly, let it go as we watched the sunset. My boyfriend then proposed to me right there, and I did say yes. I forgot about it when I glimpsed that bright, flamey hair. We grabbed our machetes and headed back to the dogs. My fiancé seen what I did, but where this person was at was not an easy place to go to. If my fiancé and I wanted to get there by foot, it would take us at least a half an hour of climbing down rocks, walking across very rocky terrain, and even then, we could not get up that mountain. No way, unless airlifted. I think we watched it go inside of an arched stone doorway that's disguised as part of the mountain. How the hell did he get up there? You couldn't climb that. It was jagged and went straight up. My fiancé thought it was a Bigfoot, but I reminded him that Bigfoot are covered in fur. This was a giant of a man with long, flame-colored hair. That thing was a giant. We stuck around for a couple of hours, and then we went home. Made it back by 1 a.m. and straight to bed. This part is definitely hard for me to articulate, and I wish I could extract memories into video so that I could show you this to those who may teach me how it's possible for light to act this way. More than a few contradictions like slow and fast. When you turn on a light, it just lights instantly. This was how a spreading, crawling, or painting of light. I cannot describe it any better than that. Like it was quick but slow. Enough for me to watch the light spread. When it hit my ceiling crease, it seemed to spread slower down the third of the wall before it instantly detracted. It was so unnatural. As far as I know, light does not work like how I witnessed it that night. I was lying awake, reliving the evening, mostly the proposal. I was cheesing, looking up at the ceiling, listening to the YouTube frequencies we leave on the computer as we sleep. My side of the bed is against the wall, so the crease of the ceiling was where my gaze was at, when the room just seemed to fill with white light. I remember how it spread over the crease, and I cannot articulate. It freaked me out because as soon as it painted in, it detracted just as quickly. I sat up and looked around in front of my computer, which is against the wall in the very middle of the room. I saw an electric energy ball or something right smack dab in front of it, just hovering. My fiancé lifted his eye mask up and asked what I was doing. But the orb thing brought the room another flash of white light and disappeared. I bet you saw that one, huh? was my response. And he did. He didn't see the orb. I told him about the orb and that there was a flash before that. He thinks he saw the first flash, but assumed it was the YouTube frequency video I had on. I joke now and then saying I think the orb wanted to watch YouTube, but I think it was just in the middle to spread its light evenly. The light was bright. It didn't seem to hurt our eyes, so it also confusing. I wish to mention that this experience set me on a path of obsession with star seeds, angels, synchroниties, and other things I never would have entertained. I was a science geek, atheist, who is now questioning everything. My life has been extra shittier since, such as my fiancé is currently in prison till 2025. I never had a family. Dad couldn't stand my autism, even though I have his stims and it's hereditary. And pretty much alone my entire life, except for my fiancé, who was abandoned by his family as well. We made an oath never to abandon one another. I feel like something from that night forced me into a brutal spiritual awakening where I made to be alone during this journey. We both believe that night set us on a weird trajectory. All right, so I shared that during the live stream, and a gentleman named Russell reached out to me on Sunday. But what I wanted to share prior to sharing Russell's information and experience quickly, I have always said that, or believed that, the paranormal, high strangeness, whatever you want to call it, supernatural, I don't believe that the paranormal is just ghosts, first and foremost. I believe that it's a very kind of broad term that can encompass cryptids, portals, ghosts, poltergeists, demonic possession, all of it. Better word, supernatural, whatever you want to call it. But I have always thought that the people with addiction issues, with mental health issues, are attracted or are a magnet for experiences. I was born with a addictive personality. I remember after having numerous paranormal experiences down at my family's farm, playing with a Ouija board, getting into things way over my head at such a young age, from like 12 to 16, really messed me up. Then having my experience with my friends, at that point, I had experimented with weed and drinking like most kids at that age. After my experience, though, I was introduced to painkillers. And roughly 6 months later, I was introduced to heroin. So from 17 till 39 years old, that was my life. I held jobs. I raised a family. I was a functioning addict. I researched, I read paranormal stuff. I was just, and I always thought that I did better or researched better or learned better when I was high. And I remember when I first took that first painkiller, I said, it was like something was missing in my whole realm of universe. My whole universe was just empty. And I remember feeling like that from a very young age. And the second that narcotic, that opiate painkiller hit my system, it was like the shades got lifted and the light came in. And I told my my counselor, my Suboxone doctor, that I believe that my opiate receptors in my brain, which we all have, don't fire correctly. And that's why I was always lacking in this. It was like almost like I was destined to be an addict. As strange as that sounds, you know. But I believe that is like a magnet for these things, you know, like. And after that, I had multiple experiences, just real strange stuff. Never another Dogman experience like I had in 1994. But I had shared this and I thought about it. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And instantly thought about how I had made a statement once saying, we have these mental health hospitals, insane asylums, whatever you want to call them, with people claiming to see things, hear voices, schizophrenics, right? And then I was thinking, okay, well, what if the population of these people, what if a small group of those are misdiagnosed, but are actually having conversations with a demon? There is a actual that no one else can see except them, you know. Medicine doesn't work because it's an actual thing. It's an actual happening. A possession of some sort. An out of body. Instead of a possession inside, it's outside of you. And you are in its domain. So then I was like, shit. If that is a possibility, what does autism and the paranormal, how is that? And I found this. Research indicates that individuals on the autism spectrum report paranormal experiences such as sensing presence or seeing visions at a higher rate than neurotypical individuals, often using these experiences to explain unusual sensations or cope with daily difficulties. The prevalence of atypical sensory processing in autism may contribute to these experiences, which are then interpreted within cultural frameworks that favor supernatural attributions, particularly in the context of fantasy media and literature. While some physical and psychological causes for unusual behaviors should be ruled out, this research explores the unique intersection of autistic embodiment and cultural cognition in making sense of the supernatural. Which that doesn't give us any answers, but there is actually there was a study that took place. Are autistic kids magnets for ghosts? And that was in a Psychology Today. And there was an actual whole kind of groundwork done. A group of researchers, psychologists, psychiatrists, researchers, all sat down and did this really amazing kind of look at autistic kids and came to the conclusion that yes, there is a connection. Prevalence of the paranormal experiences. They're higher frequencies. Studies have found that autistic individuals describe unusual sensory experiences, such as feeling touch or seeing visions without external input, more often than matched non-autistic groups. Sense making, the supernatural experiences often serve as a way for autistic individuals to find meaning and cope with unusual body sensations or other challenges in their everyday lives. Right there is saying they are now discrediting that. And this would be Google. This is not the this is not that study that was done. But many people with autism and autistic children have experienced something in the paranormal. There's a very valid correlation between the two. And there's a study that presents non-speaking autistic children that claim to demonstrate telepathic communication and other paranormal abilities. So, was that what they were doing? Was that what they were doing when Montauk Chair, these deep underground facilities that have been found worldwide or countrywide, I can't claim worldwide, but countrywide, with childlike beds. There's one in Saranac Lake that was found in the Adirondacks. A gentleman he was hiking through the woods, and he happened to find a hatch. And he opens the hatch and goes in, and there's all these child-sized beds. It's long since been decommissioned, but is that what they were doing? Experimenting on autistic children? Especially back in the day when, it was almost like if your child had any kind of something remotely wrong with them, to hand them over, give them as a ward of the state. So I really believe that this poor young woman, I feel for her and I agree with her. And now, because of seeing a Nephilim, she is on a spiritual awakening. And I only pray that it is the right side of that spiritual line. I hope she doesn't cross over. I hope that she stays on the right side of that spiritual awakening, if you know what I mean. So in response to this experience being shared on the live stream, I received an email saying congratulations on the 100,000 subscribers, and I am a high-functioning part of society with Asperger's. I believe that I have information that may be able to help you. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I go to email the person, and that's when I find out his name's Russell. And I read the rest of the email because that was just the heading. And Russell is a high-functioning person with autism/Asperger's. He has an amazing job. He's very well off. He's worked very hard to excel and overcome his issues. I don't know the proper wording for that, but he then had become obsessed with the paranormal. And once again, like I said, the paranormal has a kind of broad, it's a broad term. It can encompass a lot. His key that touched him on this case, not only seeing a red-haired giant slash Nephilim or descendant of the Nephilim, the Anakim, he had seen something very similar. He's had a run-in with one. He also had become obsessed with angels, or what people refer to as dark watchers. And we'll get into that in 1 second. But this sentence right here, I wish to mention that this experience set me on a path of obsession with starseeds, angels, synchronicities, and other things I would never entertain. That sentence, he said, was a key to a lock for him. Dark watchers are a entity that had been spotted since a long time. Unfortunately, they're in the paranormal. There's like watchers, dark crawler, whatever. You know, there's all these weird names. That's why I just say crawlers, dogmen, Bigfoot, You know, and then you get into those like California night crawlers and, you know, this and that. But dark watchers is a whole different ballgame. Historically, people have talked about them since Native Americans talk about them. The expansion of the United States, the move westward, travelers had seen them. People still see them. They are those dark entities that are in the mountain ranges that are just watching, just staring down and watching. And some people do believe that they are some sort of biblical angel-like creature. And he had heard that, being that he is as an obsession with the paranormal, he had heard that there had been sightings of these creatures, or whatever you want to call them, in Sierra. He also said that, I'd like to know where she had this experience, because the Sierras in California are freaking huge. Like, huge. It almost goes, the Sierra Range goes almost to the northern part of it. You may be able to see, I've never been there, but looking at a map, you may be able to see Shasta from the most northwestern part of this region. This huge region that encompasses a chunk of California. Now, he had heard that some people had kept seeing these weird entities, having weird experiences, seeing strange portal-like experiences, or in a region in the Sierra, actually in the Tahoe National Forest, and specifically in a location called Baltimore Town, which at one point was called Whitman's Camp, and it was an old gold mining community or camp. It's set right in the Tahoe National Forest, and in these cliff sides and buttes and area, because the Black Butte is kind of right west of this area, people had spotted these things. Tourists had spotted these things. Going to an old tourist, just like an old ghost town, an old mining town. And he wanted to capture proof of these dark watchers. Now, he goes up into this region, and he's camping in we will not disclose the campsite, but he's camping, and he proceeds to hike into this Baltimore town, or Whitman's camp, in search of these dark watchers. Now, he had gone there, walked around this region for an entire day, hiked back to his camp, decided he was going to try a couple different things with some cameras that he has, some cameras that he had created specifically for what he believed would capture an entrance or exit of a portal opening or closing, these dark watchers, any kind of poltergeist, ghost, demon. He had created this very interesting camera. So when he had a feeling when he was there that there was this little range of like a cliffside, not very high, maybe 30 feet above where he would be standing, and he wanted to take his camera there and kind of scan that area for half a day, whatever. He's camping. He's on his own vacation. This is what helps him cope with what is going on. And so he gets out there, and he's out for a couple of hours by himself, which does not bother him at all. So, and he specifically said that, like, Jeff, being there and alone for that long does not bother me. I am content. I am content not hearing people talk, not hearing traffic, not hearing anything other than nature. And he happens to look up at this region, and he stops and realizes that there are two humanoid-like entities off in the distance, which he can't really make out, just that they're dark in color. So he does this weird kind of walking, like he's walking out, but he doubled back to get closer to this cliffside area where he had seen them. And as he kind of cuts back through, he spots them. And what he said he saw was two of these creatures, these dark watchers, are standing patiently, and they are just something unbelievable to him. Humanoid, a very strange kind of dark color to them, but what he believes he sees is that their feet are not touching the ground. They are standing above the cliff thing, the top of the cliff thing, the top of the cliff area. But they are 2 feet off of the ground, just floating, standing, looking, scanning out, watching the area. And so he goes to take a couple pictures and realizes that his battery is not low, but it's dead. Completely dead. Which is strange for him, because he is meticulous about keeping up with all of his stuff. only one thing comes to his mind. These things just drained the power from my batteries. That sucks. Realizing his camera is drained, he decides to go back the way he came, hikes back out, goes to his campsite, takes roughly an hour and 15, whatever. He decides that he's going to, that night he sits and plans this, whatever, I'm going back. I'm gonna get these things on. I'm gonna charge my camera. I'm going to not even turn it on. I'm going to capture them on video. I'm going to come up behind them. This outcropping, this huge outcropping where Baltimore Town / Whiteman's camp. The next day he leaves very early. He is obsessed. He is on a freaking mission. He gets there, loops around, visually sees these dark watchers standing in the same location, like they never left, like they just were there. And he puts his camera up. Boop. And he realizes where he's standing. He's like, they don't know I'm here. He's like, this is perfect. And he puts the camera on and he's got him. He's literally recording these things. And he said, Jeff, I don't care if nobody believes me. He goes, because there are people that claim to have pictures and people that claim to have video and refuse to show it. He said, I don't care. He's like, I'm not one of those people. He's like, and you can take it how you want, but what happened next has only strengthened my obsession. He's visually watching the recording. He's watching the second counter, the minute counter, everything. The battery is not going down. And he hears this loud kind of clap. It sounded like thunder. And he's watching these dark watchers, whatever. And when that noise hit, he said he said visually I couldn't see their heads turn. He said, but I knew with what happened after this, that these things went to wherever that noise was. He said there was this just loud clap of thunder, but it was not thunder because it was a bright, beautiful day. And instantly they are enveloped in this golden light. Pew, gone. He said, I'm like, what? I look at my recording time. It's still recording. He's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Turns his camera, follows this where he believes that noise was, and kind of goes over, and boom, he sees this bright light. And what he sees is this kind of opening on the side of this outcropping, this huge just mountainside with cliff outcroppings and just solid rock, where these miners lived hundreds of years ago and dug for gold. And this ring of golden light is on the side of this mountainside. And what he sees come out of it, it was a door. He said, was this enormous humanoid. It resembled more of a Viking in the way it looked, or whatever you want to call it, this just barbarian-like thing, than what he envisioned a biblical giant to look like. He said it was just this huge, immense red beard long red hair, unkempt, wearing what looked like pelts. And as it walked out of this opening, it stood there and kind of just observed everything, like looks around like a person would if they walked outside and it was a hot day or a beautiful day. They'd walk out their front door and kind of just look around. Wow, it's nice. And he's perfectly hidden. These night or dark watchers did not see him. So he's comfortable where he's at. He's not having any kind of emotional roller coaster yet. And there it is, just standing there. And visually, he cannot make out how tall this thing would be. But somewhere between 15 to 20 feet in height. And it stands, and his camera made this weird kind of beeping noise. And he looked, and he saw the battery was draining. And he looks back up at this Nephilim, descendant of the Nephilim, the Anakim, or Raphakim, whatever. There's many different names for these things. It's got its eyes on him in his location. It heard that very small beeping of his battery is dying. And this thing is out of this portal staring straight at him. And it kind of looks at him, and it turns its head and looks back both ways and laughs and points right at his direction. And it just steps back into this opening. And as he's in it, enveloped in this darkness, that ring just shrunk. And he could visually see this just light of gold right where the center of that portal would have been. And he looks down at his camera, and his camera is off. And he's like, what the hell? I know I got that, though. I know I got that. I'm good. And he hears what sounds like something walking, but not. And there's two of them. And he turns around, and right in front of him, 20 to 30 feet away, are those dark watchers. And they are, once again, hovering above the ground. And he just takes off running. He said, I ran so fast to get out of there. Their bodies were very nondescript and dark, very dark colored. Head, a nondescript, very strange looking. And they freaking just stood right there. He's hauling ass out of there. An hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, he's back at his camp. And he's writing this down. He's documenting everything. He's got his camera plugged into his car port, charging it. His camera turns on. And the file, the SD card file, is corrupted. He brings it. He leaves, brings it to someone that he knows that's pretty good with computers, and they are unable to unlock it. It is just almost like it didn't exist. And from that point on, only strengthened his obsession. Once again, like this woman, she was not spiritually sound with herself. Now she's on this journey. This pushed him in that way. But to become Christian, believe in God, believe in angels, at that point he believed that those dark watchers were angels, and this was some sort of biblical Goliath, a Nephilim. And he's just baffled because, much like me, in the very beginning of all this channel, in the very beginning of my channel, I did not think there was a biblical tie-in. And now that's all I can say, is this is all biblically tied in to what? Who knows? Unbelievable. So, Russell, thank you. I'd like to have you on so you can share this in your own words. I know that you said you may be up to it just because it would just be a conversation between he and I would be recording it for you guys. All right, folks, that was today's upload. I hope to see you all at tonight's live stream, Saturday Nightmares, live from upstate New York. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.